All right. Turn this damn thing on. Wow. Welcome back. As we've got stuff to talk about. That I had it, a certain Democrat that can't assume. You all hearing me all right? He says, that's what a good person would do. Hey, of course, I was sure that you could hear me, and then Siri decided to go off and mute me for a second. But you can hear me now, right? Because I have crushed Siri the way I'm going to crush John Fetterman today, who has gotten on my last nerve. And I thought this is an important discussion we need to have, because we're going to move forward as a party, a movement, a group of Americans, a united front and fight fascism. I'm tired of the traitors among us. I'm tired of the wimps, the wusses, the liars, the thieves, the scoundrels. I'm tired of them all. And we've had this at so many points in American history, recent American history, where Democrats have been so close to accomplishing something. Remember, it was one vote by traitor Joe Lieberman that stopped us from passing a public option to Medicare. Think about, or to a public health care option, excuse me. Think of how different everything would be had we gotten that passed. This has often been the story that the right and right-wing money or stupidity or a combination of all of the above has found a way to corrupt when we've got a bare either majority or close minority, one or two key senators who you thought were with you. And they, you know, and it's more pronounced with this guy, so I'm going to go off on him more because of everything he pretended to be, which he clearly isn't. And I didn't buy into it from the beginning for reasons I will tell you, but I was happy to embrace it, to support him when he was one of the Democrats out there speaking the way a regular person would speak about the other side. Referred to one point, I think he called a Rand Paul a Russia-loving prick. That's a video that I've got up on my channel. There's others. I'll go through them. He literally, he was the way we talk about Eric Swalwell and Jasmine Crockett and Dan Goldman, you know, Stacey Plaskett and Pritzker, people like that, is the way we talked about Fetterman. So it's not like he just went from being like a backbencher to becoming a traitor. He went from literally one of the loudest voices on the progressive side. And I've had it with him at this point because it's quite obvious what he's doing. It's not some, you know, we need to find common ground. You can tell in people's words, it's not hard. When they've got a tone that is much harsher for their own side than they do when criticizing the other side, when they used to say the harshest things about them, you can see if somebody's heart is in something or not. Very few of these people are very good actors. And I've had it with this lazy slob, this baggy clothed loser that we defended and defended and defended as he, you know, as he went about breaking certain norms. And yeah, there were norms that were stupid. Nobody needs to wear a suit and tie in this day and age to the Senate or the House floor. I personally think that's stupid. But you can show up cleanly dressed, like you didn't just roll out of the gym, you know, bench pressing and whatever, and looking like a complete slob. There is a happy medium somewhere. And yet we defended the guy for any number of things. And this is where we are. And somebody has in there, I says 1971, you've got brain damage. Look, I don't know. Was it the stroke? Was it his depression? Was it some combination? Because we defended him during those two. I don't know. Barbara Lansky, I think it is, has kind of like Sinema, actually exactly like Sinema. I told my story about Kyrsten Sinema on this show when I met her, and I'm going to tell it again. They both became sort of media darlings through being sort of influencers, being very active on social media and active in getting themselves in front of cameras, defending, you know, very left-wing causes, defending creators and the creative class, so that the left came to love them. They built their personas the same way. And now he has done exactly what Kyrsten Sinema did. Don't get me wrong, Joe Manchin is a piece of crap, but he always was a piece of crap. We knew what he was. What he was from the beginning was the best we're getting out of West Virginia, which doesn't produce Democrats anymore. Not Pennsylvania or Arizona, swing states, where, I'm sorry, but I come from a state where Sherrod Brown won almost every election he ever ran. And the only reason he lost the last one was because Trump was on the ticket. Did he moderate a little bit on a few issues because of that? Sure. Was he behind us 100%? Was he always with us? Did he rhetorically attack the position of the Democratic Party? Did he repeat Republican right-wing talking points? Sherrod Brown never did that. Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin has never done that. John Tester from Montana, who lost his race, who had won against difficult circumstances, never did that. Okay, so it's not comparable. Doug Jones from frickin' Alabama never did that. There's a huge difference between, yeah, there are people that are more moderate on some issues, and that may be something that you disagree with them on. Fine. We don't have to agree on everything. There are some people to the left of me in the Democratic Party, some people to the right of me. There are some key civil rights issues that I won't bargain on, I won't accept. But otherwise, there are going to be some different issues. It's not that. You can tell when they've changed, when they spend more of their time rhetorically launching bombs at their own party than the other party. That is what this slob has become. And I've had enough of it at this point. You got this continuing resolution, Democrats united against it. Looked like Schumer was going to cave, and now he hasn't. They've said, the Democrats have said they'll support a 30-day one that has everything in there that Democrats want in there, instead of this, I think it was a 90-day one that Trump wants, that cuts healthcare and does all this. Every other Democrat said no to the BS 90-day one, said we're going to pass the 30-day one, or the government's going to shut down. Good luck. House better take what we give them. That's what you do when you have the power to do it. That's what Mitch McConnell always did when he had a minority and used the filibuster 99% of the time it's been used in our history. But no, not John Fetterman. Not the guy that, walked around like he cared so much about his community when he was mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania. He got a tattoo on his arm for every person murdered there. This guy who played on our heartstrings and everything. He's good with cutting 880 million or whatever the hell it is, a billion of healthcare. Just letting people die, I suppose. That's good. That's okay. I mean, I know I've been all over the place here, but I mean, let's start where this begins, okay? And, in much the same way Sinema was originally in the Green Party and the Democrats were just too conservative for her. Fetterman, and I'm sorry for some of you out there, but I'm going to be quite honest about this. There's a reason why back in 2016, 2017, around that time, it led me to get in disagreements with certain friends and argue people that I was very critical of Bernie Sanders. And I was critical of the movement behind him. And it wasn't because of his policy positions, because I agreed, I think, more with his policy positions overall, except for he was bad on immigration and guns. On other things, I agreed with him more overall than I did with Hillary Clinton. But he was this lone wolf type who couldn't get along with or work with anybody. Sound familiar? Like Fetterman and Sinema, and felt a need to pick fights with everybody and surrounded himself by people that were just like him, that couldn't get along with anybody. That were people that were emotionally stunted. I said this at the time. The people that were supporting Bernie Sanders was the biggest problem for me. David Sirota, Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard. These were his biggest supporters. Another one, a guy in Pennsylvania by the name of John Fetterman. Does this sort of help even add more and explain more why I wouldn't support Bernie? Because it was a feeling-based movement. It wasn't based on issues. It wasn't based on, I mean, yes, he had his issues, but it wasn't based on what could win and how you could bring together a coalition. It was based on what you're angry at. That's what Republicans do. Yeah, we need to channel some of our anger. We always do. And we need to channel some populism. But when you're pure populism versus progressivism in the early 20th century sense, right? Teddy Roosevelt, that kind of thing, where you made improvements based on science and rationality. You helped people based on those things, not based on anger and resentment, not being a farmer with a pitchfork. And to me, Bernie's movement had way too much of that in it. And I haven't even named, what's her name? Bree Joy Idiot Face, who wouldn't endorse Hillary, wouldn't endorse Biden, has her own podcast railing against Democrats. I mean, you can go on. Cenk Uygur. Like, I could give you, is there anybody that honestly was a strong Bernie supporter in the commentariat or whatever, who is still a sane person or in political circles? This was my problem. always with Bernie, is who he chose to surround himself with. People that seem to be as angry and unstable as he sometimes seemed to be. Don't get me wrong, I love it when he lashes out at Republicans. I agree with him. We should, everybody should have health care, whether it's Medicare for all or we've got a system where with a public option guaranteed for all and private companies are allowed to compete, but if they don't, screw them. Nobody needs to use them. Competition's amazing that way. Yeah, all for that. Again, this wasn't about policies. It's always about this. But Fetterman, again, he ran as he had been mayor of Braddock. He became lieutenant governor. He always ran against the party, against the establishment, and against my better judgment, because he was so good at messaging and Democrats are so bad at it and would take so many shots at Republicans, I became a fan. Didn't agree with him on everything, but I became a fan. And I liked the way he stood up to the Republican Party. He didn't take crap from them. When Donald Trump announced he was running, he just, what do you say about Trump? He just said, Donald Trump is nothing but the biggest internet troll on this earth. He dismissed him. He made it about something, about criminal justice in Braddock, the town he'd been in, and the fact that there should be more commutations and that people with nonviolent offenses shouldn't be put away. Stood up for the full legalization of marijuana, something that I was very much and always am very much in favor of. Getting national health care for everybody. Irony, huh? Son of a bitch now wants to vote for this CR that would cut it right out from under people. He did all these things. And we got behind him, okay? He broke with the mold. And again, even in some ways where it's like, come on, dude. You don't have to, again, a suit and tie, it's not 1950 anymore. But you don't have to show up in dirty, baggy shorts and a baggy sweatshirt like you just rolled out of the gym. You can treat the place with some respect. It's not hard to put on like a single color shirt or something with a sweater or, something of that nature. Ooh. Clean jeans that don't have any holes in them. It's just obviously it's become a political thing since then. And everything you read about him now, everything. I mean, let me go to this series of articles. It's ridiculous, on what's out there right now. The things that sort of he is emphasizing. Fetterman urges Senate Democrats to make a deal to avoid, quote, plunging the country into chaos. He's blaming us. Fetterman is putting on us and saying that if we don't join with a Republican bill that destroys health care, that we, not them, are plunging the country into chaos. It's funny because when they were going to close the hospital in Braddock, he refused to leave the facility so that they had to lock him up and arrest him. We all cheered him on then. Was that chaos? Making sure that healthcare facility stayed open for the people of Braddock who needed it so they would get healthcare? Is that chaos, Fetterman? I'm not going to even give you your honorific anymore because you don't deserve it, you schmuck. Did you get a tattoo for that too? You fraud. But now, oh my God, now it's chaos. It wasn't chaos when you were doing it back then, building a name for yourself, going around to different cities and recruiting creatives to move to your community because it was cheaper and all that. And it was smart. But it feels now like you built the fame for yourself by doing that and being elected America's coolest mayor by the Guardian magazine in 2012. It was a little bit more about you than it was about the people in Braddock, which you used to pretend, wasn't it? A little bit more about you. So what? You're such a coward? What are you, 6'47"? But you're such a damn coward that you see Donald Trump barely win an election in Pennsylvania and Bob Casey barely lose to a billionaire, and that's enough? Enough to scare the baggy shorts off of you? So you go around and you've become a MAGA Republican? What the fuck's wrong with you? Do you have any courage? Do you have any honor, any decency? I mean, unbelievable. What else do we have out there? He'll back a GOP spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. Oh, well, aren't you big? And the way he talks about the Republican Party versus how he talks about the Democratic Party is the tell, as I said on all of this. People give away what they really think. Fetterman urges Senate Democrats to make a deal to, quote, avoid plunging the country into chaos. Yes, we must make a deal to avoid plunging the country into chaos. Now, Republicans must come forward with a bill that doesn't cut health care to avoid plunging the country into chaos. So that's how he speaks about us. But you know how he speaks about Trump? Trump's stupid tariffs that are destroying our economy, sent the stock market crashing. We don't have to punch our allies in the mouth, Senator Fetterman said. Oh, how nice. Did you even mention the word Donald Trump in there? Did you blame Republicans in there? Did you say, we don't have to punch our allies in the mouth with tariffs supported by insane right-wing Republicans? Did you say that? No. Just, we don't have to punch anybody in, we don't have to punch our allies in the mouth. You know how to message better than that because I've seen you do it. So I know what you're doing. It's everybody's fault. It's not the one little whiny, crying idiot sitting in the White House, you know, filling up his diaper and saying, tariffs in Canada, no tariffs in Canada, tariffs in Canada, no tariffs in Canada, as the stock market crashes. No, it's not him. And even lower yourself to name him in that. And I'm fucking tired of it. So get lost. And I'll sign on any primary against your stupid baggy pants ass that I can. Everything, all your novelty. Oh, you're 6'10", looks like he's in a biker gang. You're so tough. It's all worn off. You're just another MAGA loser who hid behind Democratic branding for a while to get yourself elected to the Senate. Congratulations. And there's always a couple of these. I brought up Lieberman earlier. I don't know if some of you go back long enough in the 2000 teens with Nebraska and Ben Nelson being the one who occupied that role. But there's always somebody who's there to insult their own party and repeat Republican talking points. Always. Again, you may disagree with us on certain things. You may vote against us on certain issues. That's fine. I named a bunch of people like that before. Mark Kelly's done that. Doug Jones did that. John Tester and Sherrod Brown, which made it so they saved both of their seats multiple times, did that. This isn't that. This is different. This is when you start repeating the other side's talking points. This is when you should honestly get lost. So that's where we are with this idiot who apparently forgot everything he ever learned, everything he ever knew. Why I quoted that thing in there, my friend Bill Corbett, if you watched my Substack 12-hour launch, Bill was one of our guests, Mystery Science Theater 3000 writer, does the voice of Crow, among other things. And he had a viral tweet on responding to Fetterman, as Fetterman reported repeated Republican talking points. And how just the Fetterman himself, this fraud actor fake, said this. The weeks of performative resistance, he put resistance in quotes. Again, a guy that refused to leave a hospital building and to be dragged out and arrested. But now he's saying what we're doing versus fascism is performative resistance. From those in my party, we're limited to undignified antics. Undignified. Like what? Like showing up to the Congress in like a freaking mafia tracksuit? You know, is that undignified? You're really the guy to speak on dignity here. Voting to shut the government down will punish millions or risk a recession. It does risk a recession, and it will punish millions. And the alternative is worse. So the alternative is giving into blackmail and punishing people permanently who lose their health care, and then saying to the Republicans, you can do this every time, and they will. So millions, how about tens, hundreds of millions being destroyed? Sometimes there's no good answer, but there's a better answer. I disagree with many points in the CR, but I will never vote to shut our government down. Well, gee, aren't you a hero? You'll just, again, block a hospital from being shut down with your own body. And I bet if I looked hard enough, I can find more examples of him doing, performative resistance like that. So Bill Corbett responded. Bill's a comedian and damn good at it. You're a weak, lazy slob who's easily manipulated by fascists. This will be your one and only term in the Senate, after which you can finally fulfill your destiny and be a carnival geek. Yeah, he fits the carnival just about right. Thank you for that, Bill. That was necessary. Last thing I'll do here is to throw it out to you guys. We can ask some questions and stuff. I'll be honest, I'm going to do my best I definitely will last the hour, but after the last 2 days and the flu, getting over the flu, I'm definitely tired. And the past 2 days I was lucky enough to have some folks here to help out. But today it's just lonely old me you're stuck with. So here, I'm just going to read from these videos. Senator When did I put this one up? A year ago. Whole year ago. He's an entirely different man. Senator Fetterman hilariously mocks Mike Johnson as, quote, a deranged weirdo, which Mike Johnson is. And that's why that was such a cutting point, because a guy that kind of monitors his kids, activities on computers, if you know what I'm saying, and is this little weird, strange acting and creep, seems like a creeper to a certain degree. It works. John Fetterman doesn't hold back on unquote, Putin-loving prick Rand Paul. Remember when he used to say stuff like that? Trump slandered Fetterman at a PA rally. Fetterman torches Oz. It shows up and just rips Oz apart as a fraudulent doctor and, pill pusher and all the other stuff. His fake whatever. Hey, take the supplement. Maybe he fed some of those supplements to Fetterman. Maybe that's what this is. He snuck them in his drink. Mess with Fetterman. Watch him destroy Huckabee with one quick jab. Yeah, he went after Huckabee's daughter for spending the $20,000, or what is it, $20,000 on the lectern, and ripped the crap out of them. I mean, I can go on and on like this. Ripped JD Vance on live TV for his support for Russia against Ukraine. And the thing is, I don't even know, where does Fetterman stand on these issues anymore? Considering he's such a mouthpiece for MAGA, is he pro-choice anymore? Does he believe in gun safety anymore, or is all those people that died in Braddock from murders, what are they? I mean, he's got a political career to try to fulfill. Does he not matter anymore? The fact that when he became lieutenant governor, he flew the pride flag. Would he do that now? Is that the kind of thing he'd have the courage to do? Or, what's the pride flag when it gets in the way of you moving forward with your career? Was a different guy. And I tried as long as possible to listen to the crap come out of his mouth and hope that he was readjusting a little bit after the election and just making himself sound a little bit more mainstream, but was going to retain who he was, his basic core. And it seems quite clear that's not happening now. He is Kyrsten Sinema. He is the person who went from being a Green Party or a socialist or whatever you want to call it type all the way over to the right. Just like Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald and all these other people. He's fulfilled his Bernie acolyte destiny, I suppose. God, say whatever you want, and you can argue with me all you'd like. And I've even admitted that Bernie has had some terrific issues. And if it wasn't for what my issues with his personality, how he ran his campaign, the people he surrounded himself with, the fact that I didn't think it was the best idea to have a Jewish guy from Brooklyn with a Brooklyn accent who'd chosen to live in Vermont and, live off of somebody else's electricity for a while, and chose to honeymoon in Moscow, where there were videos of him singing with vodka with his shirt off. I didn't think that necessarily was the best nominee. But you know what? Okay, maybe we could have gotten around some of that. But the people he surrounded himself with was always such a huge problem for me, and it just gets worse. At least I thought, hey, at least he's got a feather in his cap when it comes to Fetterman like a year ago. There's somebody that came from the Bernie universe that's kicking butt. And now we're in the exact opposite situation. He might as well be Tulsi Gabbard. So, yeah. As Odette Tenney said, Fetterman is a traitor to the Democratic Party. He's a joke. Yes, he is both of those things. We should treat him like a joke from now on. No more defending him. I mean, no ableism. I'm not talking about the stroke or anything like that, of course. But he doesn't get a free pass for dressing like a clown. He doesn't get a free pass for sounding like a clown. He should be primaried, absolutely. Absolutely, positively. Give me the Democrat to line up. I'll start right now recruiting a Democrat to run against him. Truth of the matter is, right now, because Tom Tillis has decided to be 100% whore and not live up to, as he said privately, he was scared for his safety if he voted against Pete Hegseth. And my answer to that is, that's the job. A lot of us take risks doing things publicly like this. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen, go away and let somebody else have your North Carolina seat. But because he was against Hegseth, but he was too scared, and it seems that way with anybody else, they're going against MAGA, Tom Tillis is not that third vote. or whatever that we need. We've got Murkowski and a lot of stuff, and Collins every once in a while. But I'll tell you the truth, right now, it really doesn't, Fetterman makes no difference because there are very few votes where this is a 50-50 vote and Fetterman makes the difference. So honestly, fuck him. If his choice were to go to the other party, he'd lose in a primary and his political career would be over. He'd get primaried from the right and he'd get destroyed. Got, you know, good luck running in a Republican primary when you flew an LGBTQ flag outside and came out and strongly for choice and the things you've done. So I'm not saying I want him to leave the party, but if anybody thinks that's a threat, we don't have the votes in the Senate right now to do anything but filibuster. We don't have the votes to stop anything that is non-filibusterable, if that's a word, when they appoint, you know, various cabinet positions, judges, all that stuff. You know, the reconciliation for the budget. Like, if there's not a filibuster there, we can't stop them. Therefore, Fetterman's useless. Therefore, respond to his crap and his negative messaging the way it should be responded to. What a freak. All of them, John Rankin, all of them get comfortable in Washington. I mean, yeah, that is part of the problem. God, you see the way it changes people. You know, I'll tell you, and no offense to any of you guys, Karina, guy from the Matt McNeil show. All right. Thank you for being here, Karina. I am a guy from the Matt McNeil show, if that's what you're referring to me as. You know, like, I lived in Washington 8 years, and I'll be honest with you, like, there's a lot to love about Washington. I'm a history guy, so the history was amazing. But you can't go out anywhere without, like, this is what I do for a living, and you can't go out anywhere at night and have like a beer or something without people talking about politics and policy. It is everywhere. It engulfs everything. And like, I couldn't wait to move. I was very ready when we decided we were going to raise our kids in Cincinnati to leave DC, because I didn't want to become of DC. I didn't want to go to those stupid cocktail parties with these self-appointed elites in the media and, you know, on Capitol Hill, and these little staffers who think they're God knows what. Wasn't of interest to me. That's what happens to some of these guys. They go there and it just, the ambition, the pomp and circumstance, I guess, takes him over. I don't know that that's what happened to him. Who knows? Maybe he's gotten closer with Comrade Putin than we know about. Possibility, sure. China, Egypt, hell, we know Egypt gave Donald Trump $1 million. Nobody ever did anything about it. We know Saudi Arabia rented out whole hotel floors. I mean, we know of 5, 6 or more different entities that actively tried to, or it would seem allegedly, quite honestly, bribe the president of the United States. We've seen a lot of senators change their positions on these things too. Is it an impossible belief that one of these folks could have gotten to Fetterman? Of course it's not. I don't know. Or is he just such a wuss that he's not willing to stand up and fight for his seat in Pennsylvania? Again, besides that one election where there was a billionaire running against Casey and there was Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, besides that one election, we have won every election in Pennsylvania, most of them overwhelmingly, since 2016. Okay? Like, both senators during that time were Democrats. The governor we kicked out and installed a Democrat. We took over the state house. I think we came close to the state senate, but couldn't quite do it. We were winning everything. We won the attorney general's office, right? I mean, you know, you're not sitting there in South Carolina. You're not sitting there in Oklahoma. And even in sitting there in Alabama, Doug Jones had more courage than you will ever have in your life. Baggy shorts guy. Fetterman can put a Baconator together. Well, yeah, that I believe. That I believe. I'm looking through some of your comments right now. Mr. Fetterman, you're betraying Democrats and Pennsylvanians. We get from Mary F. You're damn right. You are damn right. I mean, I get the feeling at this point, like, again, remember, it started with his equating Donald Trump's prosecution to Hunter Biden's. And you could even make an argument, just to show you I will bring nuance to this, that they went after Trump too harshly on that specific charge, because that was something where they went and tried to throw the full book at him. But I always got the feeling they did that because we weren't sure whether the other things were going to be pursued. If I had been very comfortable with the fact that Donald Trump, for stealing state secrets and storing them in his crapper at Mar-a-Lago, and for inciting an insurrection on January 6th, was going to be held responsible, I wouldn't have cared about that other charge that wasn't as serious. But to equate that with Hunter Biden, who filled out a gun form wrong and paid his taxes, he didn't pay his full taxes. I mean, if they weren't busy cutting the IRS constantly so that nobody can audit anybody, I bet you'd find half the damn country doesn't pay their full taxes. So, I mean, it was just for him to even start off equating those two. The Hunter Biden prosecution was literally because his name was Hunter Biden. Donald Trump, yeah, there may have been an extra zealous prosecution because we wanted to get a guy who's a serial lifetime criminal or in prison for something. It didn't seem like Merrick Garland was doing the job now, did it? But you could even make, again, an argument that that wasn't the one you thought Trump should have been going to prison for. But to equate that to Hunter Biden, Trump broke the law there. Trump bribed. Trump paid a porn star off. It was illegal. W.W. Manchin is going to Sinema still around. No, Sinema is gone. She did not run for re-election once Ruben Gallego got in. By the way, another one who I don't fully agree with, who even voted for a few of Trump's nominees, I think as a protest of the fact that Trump is not a legitimate president, no nominees, even if they were nominees that were qualified, and none of them are really qualified. Marco Rubio is an idiot, but he's not a criminal as far as I know. So he can, I mean, like people like that, I would vote for if it were a normal administration. If it were me, I would vote for the ones I didn't think were terrific, but were not like just beyond the pale awful. But nobody should have been voting for anybody in this administration because it's not a legitimate administration. It's a collection of fascists. But even that, again, to prove, I don't think we should ever say, well, this person did one thing, throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're going to disagree with people on some things. I think Gallego was wrong voting for a few of the ones, but the ones he voted for were the ones that were actually qualified to be there, at least the ones I saw. And yet, do you hear him out there repeating right-wing talking points, insulting his own party? Nope. Gallego's acting like a senator that we can be proud of. Unbelievable. So how are we all doing? Tina Bradford, Fetterman is not the piece of person we all thought he was. No, it's not the person any of us thought he was. And again, we have an answer for that. He's up in 2 years. To 26? Year and a half? I think he's up in 26. Good. Let's recruit now. Let's find a good Democrat who can appeal to a wide swath of Pennsylvania and recruit now. So I'm done with people like him. Done. Well, Pat Lutwig, you said, of course, Fetterman was bribed and threatened like all the other ones. And you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But you know what else? The key phrase you use in there is all the other ones. That means a whole hell of a lot of the other ones were offered bribes and threatened. And guess what? They haven't caved because almost every Democrat in the Senate is doing the right thing. You don't have to give in to bribes and threats. And again, I'm not saying I don't have sympathy for people who are threatened, but I've been threatened before to the point of having to call the FBI. The threat was specific enough. Okay. Again, when you decide to do this stuff publicly, you take a certain amount of risk. Now, granted, Fetterman's is far more than mine. He's got a far bigger name, more famous, bigger job, all of that. But the point is that doesn't change anything. Just as it shouldn't for Tom Tillis, whatever. These guys are all, I don't know what Fetterman's situation is now, but I bet like everybody else, magically they all become multimillionaires when they get to the Senate. This whole, no ban on insider trading thing is quite amazing, isn't it? It's quite amazing how you can make money in the stock market when you actually know what's going to happen ahead of time. Insane. You got the money. Hire some extra damn bodyguards. Okay. I've named people before: Martin Luther King, Michael Collins in Ireland. There are people that have made the ultimate sacrifice for the cause they believe in. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm saying you have to be willing to take that risk for what you believe in, or you shouldn't be there. And that's okay, because not everybody's meant to be there. If that's not something you want to do, if that's not a risk you want to take, that's just fine. Leave. But we're in a moment in history where things are more unstable. There are risks. If you don't want to take those risks, leave and let somebody who will take those risks show up. Yeah, Cynthia, I had read that. When Fetterman first, he acts like the regular guy. He went to Harvard for grad school, okay? But he acts like the regular guy, and he had all the tattoos and dresses like a biker or a gym rat or whatever. But when he was getting paid, what was it, $150 a month? I think was the pay for the mayor of Bradford, Pennsylvania. His dad was supplementing his income. So I didn't know how rich his dad was. I know he was wealthy enough to help him out, which I'd have no problem with if Fetterman had it was still sticking up for the right causes. But geez, don't lecture us on voting for the CR and voting against chaos when people are going to lose their health care, when your daddy can help pay for you to be mayor. If you're lucky enough to have that, and I've been lucky enough to have a family that can help me at times, I understand how lucky I am. So no, I wouldn't argue for getting rid of people's health care now, would I? Here you are, Jim. Perfidious whores taking special interests. Yep. He went to Albright College. I had that. I feel like I knew that at some point, Cynthia. But does that give you or us, I'm wondering, does that give you any insight into him at all? I mean, it's hard to know these days. I've joked around with you all and said that I've probably gone to now the most infamous college in the country. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, the two worst humans alive in America, really, maybe anywhere. Elon Musk and Donald Trump both went there. I would hope that wouldn't give you insight into me. But who knows? Gets campaign donations from BlackRock and Google, to name a few. Okay, that may mean something. But I'll tell you also, I've seen numerous Democrats take donations from companies like that and vote against their interests. That's why I don't always judge some of these folks, because with the system that we are stuck in, where you have to raise corporate money, I'm not defending it, better not to, but I've seen a bunch of folks who take some of those funds and then go and vote right against them when they're wrong. So no excuse that he took money from them. He could still vote against them. Thank you, Gregory Brown. The caustic part of this is not knowing where, when, or how this plane is going to land. For the first time in my life, I don't see a future America on a lighter note. Best pizza of life. Well, thank you, Gregory. Lighter note, pizza's good. I can see a number of ways. If you study history, you can see a number of ways this plane lands. It doesn't mean we're going to be exactly the same as we were before. Although, after Nixon, there are a number of massive reforms that we were actually a better democracy for at least 20 to 30 years there. So you have to see what happens, what forces line up. There are going to be some unlikely bedfellows who line up and agree on certain issues for different reasons. There's going to be, the public right now, Donald Trump, I believe, has the worst economic ranking right now in terms of polling he ever had, even including his first term. Elon Musk is fighting to fall below 30%. People are angry. They're ready to kick Trump and Musk and Republicans to the curb. If we fight and do our part and make sure there's anything close to free and fair elections, including this year, for governor of Virginia, governor of New Jersey, for those two open Senate seats in Florida and Ohio, without Trump at the top of the ticket, it should be interesting. The congressional races, like the Stefanik race, which should be a Republican race, except for we're overperforming again in these kinds of places, because without Trump on the ballot, because he's just doing a terrible job, like you would expect. So, electoral ways to solve this. The judges so far have been impressive, have been holding hell. Even the Supreme Court the other day, it shouldn't have been 5-4, but they did reject him. So now the right is all turned on Amy Coney Barrett. She's DEI now too, of course. That's their little slur for anybody who doesn't agree with them. Even, and I've said this along the way democracies survive. Now, I didn't make this up. You learn this from the scholars of it, is that everybody joins together who's not a full-on fascist to fight them across the political spectrum. So yeah, I got people I used to argue with when I'd go on MSNBC and Fox News that I'm on the same side as now. And there are people that I would never even want to step in a room with that I see doing the right thing. Certain judges and other people who just Trump is a step too far or 5 steps too far. There are aspects of our democracy that are working. I think it's impossible to know how the plane is going to land. And I still have optimism that we're going to end up, in fact, being a democracy. And in some weird way, if this gets the citizenry to become more active, if people that are MAGA dummies who sat there and just taken in the disinformation, the lies, and haven't questioned it, some of them have now seen their own paychecks disappear, their own healthcare disappear. They're starting to question it. Maybe they pay some more attention in the future, just maybe. And we can win some of them, more of them over. Maybe we can get rid of this awful democratic leadership and unleash, the inventive, creative, brilliant folks, who speak out and are amazing, the Chris Murphys and Jasmine Crockett's and AOC's and Brian Schatz's and people like that, and be led by a terrific force. There's just a lot of things that can come out of this. When democracies have headed towards authoritarianism like this, history shows it's ended in a number of different ways, from the really, truly awful to sometimes actually ending up on the other side, a better country for it. So we don't know yet. We need to keep fighting for everything. Donald Trump could be the thing that this grotesque Jabberwocky creature that he is could be the thing that galvanizes people that never would have joined with us to join with us, so that we reform our government in a way that is more democratic, that is more of a liberal democracy, that is more open. It's absolutely possible, and it absolutely has happened before. We just need to, when you say stuff like, I see Cynthia there. I wonder if Vance actually won a Senate election. One thing that, however, we have to do, and again, we control a lot of these states, if not some of the swing states, is to ensure that there is election integrity to the point of where everything is audited and trails are provided. Obviously, I want there to be paper ballot counting everywhere, but I don't know what happened federally, and I don't dismiss theories. I just say I don't know. Though I tell you that if the Supreme Court hadn't gotten rid of the Voting Rights Act and they didn't allow the kind of mass voter suppression that secretaries of state, Republican secretaries of state, pulled in Ohio, Georgia, Texas, places where they've controlled, those races would have gone differently or been a hell of a lot closer. We're going to have to see what happens. And listen, we're not be the first ones to be people who fought and stood up and ended up being the ones who created our own destiny. It's happened plenty of times before. If you think there's a lot of love and a lot of support for Donald Trump, be it the military, the intelligence community, there isn't. They know what he is. Rights Aid, I didn't see that one. On the protester that disappeared, I think you mean the one that, it was the Palestinian protester that disappeared. I believe that's the one you're talking about. Well, yeah, that's criminal, obviously. And I'm interested to see how that plays out, because that's not America and that's not how we work. And I don't think they're going to be able to just... The question, and I guess the real question when it comes to the Palestinian protester, and I don't know the answer, is he an American citizen? Because if he's an American citizen, then I think he will be okay. I think they're going to have a really hard time. If he's not an American citizen, then they can deport him. Whatever, our feelings are on that, that's the way that works. But frankly, being deported for him may work out better than being put in a prison somewhere, right? So if he's not American, again, if he is American, then we need to stand up and fight that every step of the way. You may have seen one of sorry, somebody's texting me that you may have seen that one of the executive orders that Trump passed, he's quietly unpassed. And I'm bringing it up because it has to do with this, which is that Guantanamo as a place for those deported are no longer going to Guantanamo. They're quietly bringing them back because the judge told them, nah, you're not doing that. Again, the judiciary stood up to Trump, which is something I think we were very scared of. So he has a green card. He's a permanent resident. That makes me think that then, again, even if you're not a U.S. citizen, that no, they should not be able to just deport him. And I would be willing to bet you the courts will not allow that. If somehow Trump does it, we all hit the streets like we've had to on many of these things, right? You don't just get to take permanent residents and throw them out of the country. That's not how it works. But I must admit, green card is a pathway to citizenship. I must admit, I am not an expert on the different sort of variations around. I know you're a citizen. I know you're not a non-citizen, but again, permanent resident, green card, all the stuff. I should know more, and maybe I'll study up more on exactly what the law is as to what they can do and can't do. But I don't know that fully. Isn't his wife American? If his wife's American, then he's American, right? I mean, so I would think then no. Sadly, he didn't do anything for Khashoggi. He was also a permanent resident. Yeah, well, but that's sadly because those bone saw wielding fascist, vicious pieces of dung tricked him into going to the embassy in Turkey. They couldn't have done that on American soil. And Trump, of course, wouldn't do anything about it. No. But at that point, it wasn't about the courts preventing someone from being deported. They'd already done what they had done by tricking him to show up there. I mean, it's awful to even think about. It's horrific, but it's a different situation than somebody where we know about it ahead of time. Little Marco is a traitor. He's siding with Putin to make Trump happy. Yeah. Rubio is just an empty suit. I mean, he's a pathetic empty suit who was deep in bankruptcy. He couldn't even manage his own damn money as an adult. And he was making money. It wasn't like he's making gazillions, but to the point of where when he was a House Speaker in Florida, the Republican Party credit card, he put like over $100,000 of debt on there. He defaulted on it. He on his mortgage, right? He lost his house. I mean, again, this isn't somebody who is struggling to make money. He's just not a smart person at all. Rights aid, Rob. My pleasure. Chatting about it, of course. This is what we do. I mean, thank you, but this is what we do. Listen, I've got broader beliefs, and I don't know all of his specific beliefs, and I've told you my beliefs are, which are, I don't sign up with a lot of the Free Palestine crowd because of what happened in October to Israel. I will not equate Zionism with fascism, and I think it's a ridiculous and simplistic notion. You can argue however you think what's happened in the Middle East has happened in the Middle East, but the reason for the creation of Zionism was because people like my family, from Ukraine to Germany to Austria to everywhere else they were sent, ended up being either beaten to crap and killed and their stuff stolen or thrown into concentration camps. So the belief behind Zionism is Jews could not be safe unless there was one place, just one, where Jews controlled their own fate. That's very different than saying we're superior to this other group, so we should control them. Now, I'm not going to say there aren't some people in Israel like Netanyahu believe that because he's a fascist warmonger and he should be at The Hague. But I overall think the Free Palestine movement got propagandized by Putin, and it was infused with that, and there was no nuance to any of that, and people started to forget what happened on that October day. Doesn't mean the war was fought right. There's a tough thing to discuss because there's a lot of ways that obviously Netanyahu couldn't give a crap. They happen to have their Trump in charge, couldn't give a crap if he killed innocent Palestinians and how he engaged in the war. And that I am bombing children. No. So it's hard to even have this discussion because I can give you where I stand on both sides of all of this, but that doesn't change anything. And has nothing to do with a guy that is a permanent resident who chooses to be an activist. I don't care what issue it's on. You don't get to just kidnap him and throw him out. That's not how it works. BB, eloquent drumbeat. BB's not helping this issue. BB doesn't help anything. BB is Erdogan. BB is Orban. BB is Putin. BB is Trump. Okay? BB's a fascist. BB should be in The Hague. If I haven't made my feelings clear enough, he's an awful, despicable, racist, scumbag criminal who Israel would do so much better if they could get rid of. But we reelected Trump. So, again, not everybody gets blamed or, you and I are responsible for Trump. So, my feelings on BB are quite separate from my feelings overall, which is when somebody comes and commits the kinds of 15th century atrocities and films them, yeah, you have a right to defend yourself as a state because they are a state, they are a country. And they have the right to be a state and a country. They were given that right by the UN. Not to mention that there are artifacts there that Israel was there 2,000 years before when an emperor, Hadrian, disbanded Judea and kicked everybody out, like members of my family, and spread them throughout Europe on different shtetls. So this is all actual context to all of this that people who, when they have simplistic cheers and attacks, leave out. But even with all of that, you can bring all that context as I just did to it, and I could bring a lot more if you'd like me to about the various wars waged to wipe Israel off the map for 50 years, and that would have ended in genocide against Jews and everything else. That Abbas and Arafat each got 98% or so of what they wanted in the agreements and walked away from them. I can bring all of that context to this, and none of that justifies the existence of Bibi Netanyahu. None of it. Is he's who he is, like all those other figures I compared him to. I'm not gonna. I mean, again, Mothman. I see what you're saying. Whatever. I'm not playing into simplistic arguments here. So you can throw out your gotchas and your whatever. I'm trying to have an adult conversation here about nuance and whatever, and that there are actually two sides to this story, and there are evil people on both sides of this story. But I will argue with you until the end of time that Israel existed, has the right to exist, and yeah, one country where Jews don't have to live and have other people decide their fates seems pretty fair to me. And again, Jason, you can have your opinion too. I don't tell everybody else how to think. That's how I think. That is my opinion on all of this. Oh, Mothman. Okay. Well, if I got you wrong and you agree with me, then thank you. I apologize. I must have misread. But if you disagree with me, that would be fine too. Again, I'm not saying one can't disagree with me on this. This is not easy stuff. Did Palestinians have land taken from them in the partition in 48? Of course they did. No one was going to come out of this process getting everything they wanted. Were Jews given back some of the land? And I would argue there really wasn't a ton of land there. They were. And the first thing that Israel did when they were given their land is they recognized the state of Palestine next to them, made up of Gaza, West Bank, and all of it. And then they were attacked. Okay, that's why, I mean, There's again, there's a lot of arguments to be had over this. And again, Bibi Netanyahu is the answer to nothing ever. Yitzhak Rabin was the answer. He tried to sign a peace deal and died for it. Another one in the mold of Martin Luther King and in the mold of Michael Collins, who was willing to trade away certain things that he knew would anger people on his own side because he thought it would get the best possible deal, and he paid for it with his life. WW said we can argue this forever. That's right, which is why I've told you my opinions. You're not going to change them, you being any of you, because I've long studied about this, long read about this. It's one of the main things I did in schooling. And again, it doesn't make me right. It means, though, I have strong opinions based on a lot of things that I've read and a lot of places I've visited. And so you're just not going to change my mind on this. I think I've got a pretty nuanced and fair position when I look at it overall. So there's no point in arguing. I mean, we can discuss always, but there's no point in arguing. Why don't we get back to John Fetterman? We didn't need to get into a situation where we solve all the Middle East's problems. Fetterman's a much easier thing to solve. He lied and said he was one thing. He's clearly something else. I'd call that thing a coward. And now we need to get rid of him. So, you know, I spent 4 years living in Philly, but I haven't been there for a while. Those of you who are in Pennsylvania, let me know. Some good folks you think who could run. So we need to find somebody to take him out. Get a good senator in there. And of course, if anybody's going to take that out of context, as everybody always does, when I say take him out, I mean politically. My dream, no greed, no religion, John Rankin. Well, that sounds a lot like a John Lennon song, and I agree with that particular John Lennon song. So you and I are in the same place, man. I mean, it's obviously a bit naive, and it's not, you know, not really, sadly, humanly possible in our current state of our evolution. But maybe if we make it through all this in 1,000 or 2,000 years, the way we look back on Genghis Khan and stuff he did and say, that doesn't seem quite right. Maybe we'll get there. Yeah. Thank you for understanding, Jim. And I know that Connor Lamb ran against him in the primary, Cynthia. The thing that was interesting, though, is everybody at the time was like, Connor Lamb's the establishment, and Fetterman's the one who's really going to shake stuff up, stand up to the party leaders and all of that. And there was reason to believe that. So I understand why people jumped in. Yeah, you know, that's the thing here. And you know, this is a good thing because, again, it's not to say we're going to get back into the Israel-Palestine discussion, but I like this by Karen Klein. Israel-Palestine conflict is centuries old, will take complex negotiations to resolve. No one currently in power in Israel, Palestine, or the U.S. has the will to negotiate lasting peace. I absolutely agree with every word of that. And I will say to you, look, the commitment it takes to really change something around, to really take a place, any place, from an authoritarian and warring mindset to a peaceful one, and whatever, you know, it's been accomplished a few times in history. And the time I give you, which is why I say after something horrible happens, sometimes you can change things. Look at who's probably just about our most reliable partner in Europe at this point. Germany is certainly one of them. In Asia, Japan. You all know what we did in those places, right? It wasn't like an Afghanistan deal or an Iraq deal, which we never. I don't even want to talk about Iraq because that was an illegal war and was complete trash. But Afghanistan, there was a justification for responding to bin Laden and going in, and I supported it and still do. A 6-month year action with Army Rangers, Special Forces, that kind of thing, CIA, capture the heads of Al-Qaeda, capture the heads of the Taliban, try to strengthen some of the local groups that are more moderate, and then we need to leave and leave it up to them. That's the kind of thing that you do. Or you do what you did in Japan and Germany, and you say, you know what, we're going to stay for 50 years. And we're not just going to stay and fight wars for 50 years. We're building moderate mosques. We're building moderate schools, that aren't training people to hate. We're building up key social infrastructure. We're getting people fed. We're getting people housed. We're doing like what we did in Germany and Japan. We changed the warlike cultures that had existed and changed them into countries that became strong democracies. But that took the Marshall Plan. That took an enormous amount of money and time. And if you're not willing to do that, don't do it. You can't half-ass it. You either go and you get the guys responsible and leave right away, and it's left up to other people because it shouldn't be our fate. Or if we're going to play a constructive role, you stay a while and you invested a crap load of money in it to help bring it about, and time and effort and experts and whatever. One or the other. Free to love. Thank you. I haven't bothered any of you folks yet. So I suppose I will a little bit because I don't have that much more time to please think about super chats and super stickers. That's how I sit here with my raspy voice and almost no more flu-ridden body, and I'm able to do these things. The support you guys give me as part of this community over at Patreon, particularly now as we push, and if you could put it up there at some point, Jim, the Substack. That's what I'm going most of all, because we're going to have all of our benefits. All little bennies are going to be there at Substack, where you can get the written stuff and the video and the live stream and the this and the that, and you can get it for free. And then the people who are willing to pay extra will be able to get a couple extra of those a week. So please consider signing up for the Substack, because we're going to bring all this together into one place where I'm really going to push folks to go. And I'll be reaching out to you folks at Patreon and at YouTube who are members. I see Sheldon Hughes just gifted a YouTube membership, which I really appreciate. Again, it's not to say I don't really appreciate these, but when these things happen, what I will do is I will reach out to you folks in those other places and try to incentivize you with, who knows, with all sorts of parting gifts, and maybe, you can win things or whatever. I've been trying to organize that and make it a little bit harder with the flu to take your paid patronage over to Substack, where I'm about to adjust the price down a little bit. And so it will be competitive with everything else, and you will get more, and I will be able to pay more attention. Pat, if you're saying see you all soon, thanks, because you're leaving. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. There you go. There's some good spots for you all. Jim's got it all rounded up. Bernie's why we're in this mess. We should have never run against Hillary. So where I disagree with you, believe it or not, I come down a little bit more pro Bernie than you, Sheds Places. He had a right to run against Hillary. I was fine with that. My problem is that when it became mathematically impossible, which was pretty early on, February, March, and he stuck around to the primaries and still kept attacking her and still kept doing damage. And the people around Bernie, again, many of whom are now people like Tulsi Gabbard and Glenn Greenwald and people like that are unstable people, were sitting there launching all sorts of attacks at Hillary that were only sending people from Bernie over to Trump. Bernie should have done the right thing, realized how important the election was and our democracy was, and he should have gotten the hell out in February or March when it became statistically impossible. I have no problem with him running. Primaries are fine. WW, thank you. Vocal rest is the only way to heal your voice. You are correct. Thank you for the $3.33 super chat. I think we will get that because I won't be back till Tuesday. So I wanted to make sure to give you guys 3 of these today. And that way I could, get you a full compliment like I had in the past 2 weeks of these, even if they're a little shorter. And then, I've got 5 days to rest my voice, even though if you know me, I probably talk too much in my private life too. So I see, Jim, are you still promoting, asking me, are you still promoting the Blue Sky situation? You can do 3-minute videos now. Interesting. And I will promote the Blue Sky situation. It's just, again, it's not a place where creators can get paid for their work. So I would encourage you all, yes, I very much would love for you. If you're on Blue Sky, please follow me there. It's just, I've learned I must promote the places where I can receive compensation. I spent a lot of years on Twitter, pre-Elon Twitter, sharing thoughts, ideas, messaging, videos, God knows what, for nothing, just putting them out there. And that's okay. I'm not adverse to doing stuff for free, but that's part of my work life. And in the end, the bank doesn't accept the mortgage check if there's no numbers written on it. Neither does the grocery store. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. I like Blue Sky, but I can't. Blue Sky is a secondary place I will put stuff up that I've already put up at Substack, at YouTube, at the places that are willing to compensate me for my time and my effort. It's just the way it has to be. But I have nothing negative to say about Blue Sky. I'm glad they've got 3-minute videos now. I'll check that out. So what do we got? We got 5 either new members or contributions. So I don't want to have to do who's coming with me, but yesterday we got ourselves to 10. What do you guys say, considering, as I told you before, a Patreon membership, a YouTube membership, a Substack paid membership is huge, and even like a 99-cent super sticker. Do you think before I take this crazy voice of mine, after I gave you that wonderful content ripping the living crap out of John Fetterman, and this will be one of many times, that a few of you guys, so we can get to 10, can a few of you guys come with me? Be the goldfish when I say who's coming with me. Can we get a few small super stickers, super chats, super men and women? Patreon membership can be promoted through YouTube, Sue B. I didn't know that, but thank you, Sue B. Someone's going to have to explain to me how to do that. Sheldon jumps in right away because Sheldon is the $2 man. And I don't mean that as an insult. Just you've given 5 and other amounts, but most all, that's the big one. And I really appreciate that. All right, we're at 6. Come on, guys. 4 more. 4 more, and I can rest this weary voice and recalibrate in our fight for democracy. Work this weekend, tomorrow, with what you give me on upgrading all the Substack offerings and everything we have over there, so that the regular schedule starts next week. You're going to get 2 of these blue letters at the beginning and end of the week that just give you the summary of everything. You're going to get a special column, a special video from David Schuster, a special New York Times pitch bot. That'll be a paid feature. We're going to start doing a live stream once a week. We're going to really up the game over there. And look at this from question mark, like it, a $5 super chat. Thank you. You guys come through. And then, who would not want pounds when we're from America and we know the dollar? They're going to turn the dollar into like 0.18th of Bitcoin if they can. Thanks, Cliff. Peace from the UK. The world needs U.S. awareness. Al Yorkie, thank you very much. It does. I love your country. I'm a huge Arsenal fan. I lived in Brighton when I went for a semester in summer at the University of Sussex, and get back as often. I've probably been back maybe a dozen times. I love the UK. Look at that. Carol's been a member for 4 months. 4 more what? You're late. 4 more months. That is fantastic. Look, we hit 10. I don't know how we did it, because I must have missed some stuff, because you guys are very tricky. What did I miss? Belfast Bob got me a $5. Oh, 5, is that a euro super sticker again? I trust the euro more. I will go with the euro or the pound. Euros and pounds, baby. That's where it's at. And I told you about Carol. Oh my gosh, you guys have done it. Look at that. Look how easy that was. And you didn't have to come in, as I said. And this is I will not, I hate even asking at all, but I will never sit here and ask you for large contributions or anything. The little things here and there that you could afford that help just keep the ship on course, so to speak, that keep me from having to figure out, go and pitch people for large amounts of money so that I can show up in the Senate in baggy shorts and a sweatshirt and insult my own party and, maybe accept a bunch of rubles for it. Not that I know anything. And Carol back has gifted a Cliff's Edge membership. I absolutely appreciate that. Thank you, Carol. That is very kind of you. I think we've covered the main point today. And we had an interesting conversation on the Middle East, and I'm glad that actually everybody in there that I saw, we were all mature adults about it, because it's one of those issues that we disagree to a certain degree on. But you know what? The ones that I don't like when it comes to the Middle East are the extremists on either end. If you're an extremist, I don't want to talk to you, because that means you devalue the lives of people on the other side. If you bring context and an argument and nuance to it, we can always get along. And the same thing with, when we have a great conversation about Fetterman and what we need to do with the Democratic Party. Like, we need to, I'm not one to jump on Democrats right away. It's the only viable institution that can support democracy in this country. A lot of the party is good. A lot of the people are speaking up. We got new leaders breaking out who aren't going to just accept the old way of doing things. And I give people more chances. But when somebody like Fetterman steps over that line too many times and makes it obvious who he is, I'm wearing sweats with a bathrobe over. I guess you could say I'm a slob. WW. Well, WW, are you in the Senate right now? I wear like my sweatpants and like whatever in my house all the time. I think that is a little different. Torvy Cat, much love, Cliff. Thank you. Oh, what do we got here? Everyone support the Veterans March, please. All right, Teresa Johnston. Yes, the Veterans March. We must support that. John Rankin, I did see the protest at Trump's place, and that was awesome. When is the Veterans March again? I'm sorry, I have been sick. I'm putting Veterans March in here in Washington to defend the Constitution. Good. When is it? March 14th. Well, that would be tomorrow. So yes, support the Veterans March tomorrow. If you're in the DC area, if you can get there, go. Through an hour or two, you can drive there quickly, go and march. If not, share it. I'll be sharing it all over social media, and I can now be thankful, that my good friend Teresa here reminded me. Absolutely. Protests are good. Jim Williams, $20. Enjoy your perm tomorrow. Thanks, Jim. I wish I could tell you that we celebrate these kinds of things and paid attention to them, but we're very agnostic. I married a married Jew who marries a lapsed Jew who marries a lapsed Presbyterian. I'm not sure what that gets you, but not much in the way of religious activity. I want my kids to choose what they wish to be. I want them to believe in something bigger than themselves, that caring for others is important, that empathy is important, that achieving life's goals are important, that being better people than they were the day before is important. And I'm trying to teach them all of that. And I think that can be taught through moderate religion, or I think it can be taught without it. And I'm doing the latter. But I appreciate the wishes on Purim, because again, that's what's important, is that we all respect each other and wish each other the best on those kinds of days. I think that's it. I ended up with 12, and I was asking for 10 little bonuses. So you guys have gone far beyond. And if I talk about Fetterman anymore, I'm going to go find that hoodie and rip it right off his head. So keep on keeping on. Thank you for being in this fight. Everybody tune in. Make sure you're paying attention to the Veterans March tomorrow, other protests going on over the weekend. There is one going on the 15th, I believe, also. I think it's is it Article no. Yeah, Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, which is that Trump should not have been able to serve because he's an insurrectionist. I believe there's a march going on. Is that maybe what this march is going on because of? Maybe that one. So let's promote all that. Let's support all that. And let's make sure Schumer doesn't give in. No CR unless they're willing to come to our side of the table and not take away health care from human beings, because that's what sick fucking psychopaths do. Otherwise, you guys have been great. As always, I love this community. And I think we should end with Jason Zaya here. He says, I go naked at home, but I live in Hawaii. Well, if I were in Hawaii, I'd be naked all the time. Why not? Seems like the thing to do. So Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting everything you do. Thanks for supporting me. You know, I will prepare this time so I don't say it too soon. Thank you, eloquent drumbeat. I saw that was the last one I saw before I clicked off. But as we say, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you all a fond farewell.